So you've lived abroad, correct?
Yes, plenty of times.
So
Too much.
so tell me about some of the places you lived in and how those places shaped you because I know I lived overseas for a little while.
Okay.
And in that time overseas, I just gained a different appreciation for America, but I also realized that living in America, living out of America isn't as bad as you may believe it to be if you have not left America
That
because
is
we
so
lived abroad in the same place. And guess what? Everybody we met spoke English, and our Visa card worked everywhere we went. What more do you need?
true. That is true. That is true. So some of the places I've lived overseas, Japan, that was my first one. Um, Iran, that was my
Shout
favorite.
out to
Uh,
the kingdom.
I've deployed overseas. I've traveled overseas. I think living in Japan taught me, because I was young, fresh out of high school and college, on my own, thousands of miles away from parents, don't really have a support system. So you learn to lean on the people to the left and the right of you. And like just living over there, I was exposed to a different lifestyle, different just way of life, like the food, the culture, the music, the fashion, like everything is so different, and the language. I can't even forget like my first month living in Japan. I'm scrolling out in town with some friends, and we just trying to find a bathroom, and we're trying to figure out how to say it. And this before Siri became all popular. You didn't have Alexa and all these other electronic gadgets to speak until you just had the iPhone and you had to Google everything. So it was a culture shock, but it forced me to adapt and immerse myself into the culture and the religion to the point where I started learning some of the Japanese language. I befriended a lot of the Japanese people, and it got to the point where people started thinking I was Japanese because I was just doing, the Japanese things.
Hold on. They didn't think you was Japanese.
Yeah,
You
it's
look black.
I was wearing the. Well, you got to think there's a lot of black and East over there, and it was fun. Like it was
So they
fun.
they couldn't hear the Mississippi in your accent at all.
It was worse then. It was way worse then.
I
Um,
mean,
I think that's how they knew. But other than that, I was just doing things that the native people was doing, and that was the best experience for me because it taught me how to appreciate life and appreciate what you have, because there's a lot of poor parts overseas that people don't know about just as well as it is here in America. But overall, most of those countries are in those states, so it's kind of like you learn to just appreciate everything, whether it's the shoes on your feet or the jacket on your back. It's just you're grateful, and you look at where we're from compared to how a lot of them are living, and it changes your outlook, it changes your way of thinking, your values, your moral. Like it just makes you kind of start to live with purpose and meaning behind everything you do. And yeah, it's different. Like it's an experience, but it's definitely different.
yeah, and you talk about that, and I kind of missed, and I didn't hit on that when I was talking about how you can realize that there's a great life outside of America, but you
Yeah.
also see how bad it can be, and
Yes. Yes.
being poor outside of America is awful. And not even just that. I talk about some of like living in the Middle East. When you see the way that women can be treated over there, stuff that's both legal and socially acceptable, as opposed to what we do over here, and not to, and America's not perfect. We have a lot of work to
No,
do.
far
But
from
when,
it. Far
but when you
from it.
right, but when you see some of the stuff that flies over there, you go, hey, I know you've been treated like shit for a good portion of your life, but at least you're treated like human shit and you get flushed down the toilet. You're not treated like dog shit and you just sit in the goddamn yard and no one cares about. Like, it can be worse. And I'm not saying that
I agree.
I'm not saying that you should be okay with it because it can be worse. But let me provide some context for you that lets you know it's bad, but it's not as bad as you think it is. Now, Me Too, don't come for me. I support Me Too. Hashtag not me. But I'm just here to provide context because so often we find people who have these strong opinions about how I've been treated like shit or we should be treated better. Yes, you're right. But what is your worldview? And traveling abroad helps change your worldview, but it's nothing like living there when you actually have to ingrain yourself in that culture and live by the customs of that area. It totally changes that because I can go to France, I can go to South Africa, I can go to hell, Antarctica. You name that place in the world, I can go there for a week. But what do I really know?
Exactly.
Now, live in a Muslim country for a year, and then you think you want to go to the club and it's Ramadan, and you like, hold on, what, bro? I don't even talk to Allah. I talk to God, and I can't go to the club tonight because, well, I can't drink my water as I'm walking home in this 100-degree weather because it's daylight out. Oh, now I understand your discipline. Exactly. Now I understand why you act this way, why you can abstain from things unlike my American Christian ass, because you take American values and your traditional Christian values, you got a lot of room, a lot of freedom to have some fun. Why? Because of forgiveness. But
you can't do that overseas. No. Good over there.